Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to the Journeyman Sports Podcast. Today, we've got an NFL Power Ranking for episode 27. Just wanted to make a quick note. We know the last official episode that we posted was episode 25, but we had a big time interview. We just got done last night, working on editing it right now. That's going to be episode 26, so it'll be posted in a different order, but in terms of the actual concurrent order, that's kind of how it's going to go. But we're excited for this power ranking today, going 32-1. And we'll start it off number 32 with the Texans.
Yeah. Man. Nothing. I don't even think we have to talk about this one. I don't think we really have. I mean, the Brandon Cook situation is weird. You know, Davis Mills, man, has just not been what everyone thought him to be last season. The whole team just looks ugly. You know, I like some of the young guys they brought in, but
there's just not too much to
there's
say.
Not really anything there, man. Yeah.
They got future with all these picks, but as of right now, there's nothing much to talk about. And move to number 31, got the Denver Broncos. This is another kind of situation where sort of the opposite of the Texans. Not a super bright future. They push their chips all into the middle of the table, and it's quite fair to say that it has kind of blown up right back in their face.
They let Russ cook and he's burning the whole house down.
Yeah, they don't even have a meal anymore or a house. And we've seen them have some ups and some downs. They fire Nathaniel Hackett. They've competed in games against the Chiefs like we saw last week, and it's a weird thing in Denver right now. And I don't think Russ is completely done yet. I think he's still got another year or two in Denver. I mean, they kind of have to unless they want to eat 110 in dead cap, but Broncos, unlike the Texans, not a super bright future ahead of them.
Yeah. No, I don't like this is probably my least favorite situation in the league. Overpaying for talent that is not as good as you thought it was is always going to be a bad thing. And they're doing that with not just Russ, but some of the O-line guys too. And
it's just a mess.
I don't know. Yeah, man, they're gonna need to change some things up, and Russ is gonna need to get back to being the humble player that he was when he came in the league, and not this Mr. Hollywood guy.
Yeah. So at number 30, got the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
And
Justin Fields. That's it.
That's the thing. That's what's keeping them out of last place. He's made a lot of good progression this year. I think there's still, I said it, coaching video thing, there's still a lot left to be desired throwing the football, in my opinion. But I think the ability that they've been able to build a scheme around him and really focus on playing to his strengths, not trying to make him something that he isn't, is what is going to keep him going. And I'm excited to see the future that Chicago could have with him.
Yeah, and also, I like the way, Tevin Jenkins is what Brett Coleman said he would be this season.
Yeah.
That left tackle that they got in the Sixer. I think they got him in the 6th or 7th round, but he's a starter and he's good. So, good value there. And then, you got Jalen Jones at corner.
Mooney at receiver.
Mooney and Claypool,
Claypool's a interesting one.
Yeah, Claypool, we'll see, man. But, I mean.
Hey, in his own mind, he's top 3, so that's all that matters. So, essentially, no more excuses with the top 3 receiver, right?
Exactly, yeah. No. Sorry, I had some fuzz on my hat there. I don't know what was going on. But yeah, no, I like the way that this team is moving though.
They're on the right trajectory.
I like Matt Eberflus as a head coach. He looks, especially the play last week where they ran a play where Cole Kmet threw a pass to Justin Fields. Justin Fields took off. That was cool. But
I mean, that's the kind of stuff you got to do. Like, you got to show, I might not have the best pieces around me, but I'm going to try and use all of them to the best of their specific abilities. And I think he does that pretty well.
Yeah. And I mean,
Justin Fields is one of the fastest players in the league, in my opinion, regardless of position. So, I mean, hey, I think it's smart to use him wherever you can. He's your best player.
Definitely. You just got to protect him
as
much as you can. But I like the direction that they're heading for in the future. But as you said, we're not looking at the future. We're not looking at the past. We're looking at what they've done this season. And this season, is still bad. So, here they are at 30.
And that leads us to number 29, the Colts. This is one of the I don't know if all-time flops is maybe a bit of a stretch, but this was a team preseason. I know we talked about it. They were widely regarded as a playoff lock almost. They should have won their division. That was the expectation coming into the year. Jonathan Taylor, the O-line, you go out and get Stephon Gilmore. You have another solid draft. And then it all completely falls apart. This has been another just everything that kind of could have gone wrong went wrong. And I mean, the Colts still have I'd say they still have somewhat of a future, but they got a lot of money tied up into an O-line that has produced on a very minimal level.
Yeah, no, and
quarterback is still it's still a concern 7 years later. So
yeah, they still can't get it together. And
if I were them, I would do whatever it takes to secure CJ Stroud in the draft. If I have to trade up, I don't care. But I think if they are at 4 or 5, they should be able to get him. But I would do whatever it takes if I were them to move up to get CJ Stroud.
We'll see. But also, man, that team just needs to be better overall. I mean, everyone needs to play better on that team.
Yeah, there's been a lot of disappointing performances, to say the least.
A lot of disappointments. But we'll see what they do, man. I think every single year they're always going to have hype, just because they seem to have a decent roster every year.
And then
they always just fall apart for some reason.
Yeah, and speaking of a team that has fallen apart is the Cardinals at 28, mostly been kind of injury related. They get someone that gets hurt. Then when they come back, someone else big gets hurt. And Kyler Murray is the biggest question mark. You pay him a lot of money. He tears his ACL, and as a quarterback that relies on his athleticism, what comes next for him? That's got to be scary.
I think at this point, you got to be scared that Kyler turns into what Russell looks like.
That's what I was thinking, because Russ has lost that athleticism, and I think that's starting to show.
Yeah, and if Kyler loses athleticism, I don't know.
And you're paying Kyler similar money that they're paying Russ, just not over that long of a scale. But, I mean, we all hope that Kyler can get back to it, because Lord knows that the Cardinals need him.
Yeah.
So, leads us into number 27, got the Rams.
Man, I mean, I think everyone expected this, though. Everyone expected them to
fall off a little bit. Just not on. I didn't expect it on this scale.
Yeah, but I didn't expect it to this level, because, I mean, they still got Allen Robinson. They got Bobby Wag. Guys like that. It's like, I don't know. They just don't look as good as I really thought they were going to.
Injuries have hurt them, but I think a bright spot for them, as weird as it sounds, has been Baker. I think he's come in.
And Tutu Atwell, bro. Tutu Atwell is pretty good this season.
And I think they have some bright spots. They still have maybe the best offense. Well, one of the best offensive minds in the league. And they're gonna have to find a way to maneuver around the cap, which they always seem to do. But I'm interested to see what the future for quarterback looks like for them.
I agree.
So that would lead us to 29.
What, the Falcons?
The Falcons at 26. So,
all right.
What do you got to say about the Falcons?
So the Falcons, man, they have a lot of young talent. But I really do like Arthur Smith as a head coach. I think he's On the offensive side of things, I think he's a good mind. I think I don't think he's one of the best minds in the league, but I think he's, for as young as he is, as a head coach and things like that. I think on the offensive side of the ball, he's very good, but I think they need to figure out the defensive side still. I think that's a big problem for them still, and I also think they need to figure out how to use Kyle Pitts. Because I think he's being held back simply by scheme.
Yeah.
But I think that can be an 1,000-yard receiver for you every year if you use him right. Maybe not every year, but every other year or so.
He should be one of the premier tight ends, and he just hasn't been.
I mean, he's a tight end / receiver. Like, you can use him how you use fast receivers on Madden and just have him cook guys. Like, it's crazy. He should be a cheat code. Especially with the talent around him, I think they should be using him better because there is talent there. You have Cordell Patterson, our running back, who can receive and run like a mofo. And you also have
you got Drake London.
You got Drake London. You got
AJ Terrell on defense.
That's Grady Jarrett too.
Yeah, they got some
other
pieces.
than that, I mean, you traded Deion Jones. I don't know. It's a very young team. We'll have to see what happens into the future. I think Arthur Smith is probably. I think if he doesn't, if they don't by some miracle make playoffs or something, I think he has a chance at being out this year, but I don't think so. I think he probably gets one more year.
Yeah, I think he gets next year with another draft and offseason. But division, it's in the same division. We'll keep it with number 25, Carolina Panthers. And this is one of the more interesting spots to me because, similar to the Falcons, you do have some pieces. The secondary in Carolina is really good. J.C. Horn.
They looked a lot better.
Yeah, Dante Jackson, C.J. Henderson, and then you got Brian Burns and Derek Brown on the defense. So you got some pieces, and
let's talk about, like, Sam Darnold has not looked as bad as
he's played pretty solid down the stretch of this season.
Yep.
And
I think the only thing that was hurting him this season, and I honestly think, like, you can't really be hurt by giving Sam, because he has one more year, right?
I think he has one more, and they're probably not going to be paying him a ton of money.
So I don't think it would hurt. You just give him one more year. I know we say this every year with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
But
I think he's looked pretty solid.
One more year. And I think the only thing that they did to really mess up his head is you brought in 2 other quarterbacks in the same year. You brought in Baker, who was literally from his draft class, and then you brought in Matt Corral. And it's like, and then you fire the head coach. And, I don't know. It's messy over there in Carolina. But also, Steve Wilkes, the interim head coach, I think you give him a job next year the way he's turning things around for them. I mean, under Matt Rule, they couldn't do half the shit they're doing now. And Steve Wilkes has came in and seemingly been like a beacon in that locker room.
Yeah, he's been really good.
And Steve Wilkes never got a chance with the Cardinals either. I mean, they were so set on bringing Kyler and Cliff in at the same time. He got that one shit year with Josh Rosen, and then they kicked him out of there. So I think maybe you give him a fair chance here in Carolina, bro. I like what he's done as an interim, and I know they said that with, like, Basakia and guys like that. But I mean, Steve Wilkes, like, from what I've seen, he can really speak. He can coach. He's been on a lot of decent teams. So I'd love to see him get a chance as a head coach in Carolina.
Yeah. So 24 is the Raiders, and this one, they've still got a chance at the playoffs. I believe it's very slim, but they are statistically still alive. And obviously, Jared Stidham had an interesting week against the 49ers. There's a lot of good, and there's also, I don't want to say just as much bad, but they've cut ties with Derek Carr. He's still on the roster, but he's done as a Raider. They're either going to release him or trade him. I don't think you'll get a great pull back for him, but I think you could get a third or fourth, probably from the Colts, most likely what will happen. But I think the Raiders are. I think they need to bring back Josh Jacobs. He's proven this year that he can be an elite running back.
Oh, 100% bring back Jacobs, yeah. And he said he wants to be there too.
So. Yeah, and they've got some pieces on that team. I think Josh McDaniels is going to be the biggest part on how successful they truly can be. And then obviously finding a quarterback, because I don't think Jarrett Stidham is fooling anyone into thinking he's the franchise quarterback.
How much do you think them getting rid of Derek Carr next season is going to affect Davante Adams?
It's interesting because, we've heard Davante say the reason that he's there is Derek Carr. So I think they're paying him too much money to where they could move him or move off of him. I think he'll stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a narrative that starts to form where he's fed up next year. And yeah, I think he'll stay because they still have potential on that team, but I would not.
Imagine they pull a move of a lifetime and Aaron Rodgers this offseason goes to the Raiders and they just reunite over there.
I think Tom Brady's going to the Raiders. That's my pick. I really think Brady's going back to get with McDaniels. They've got a system that he could play in. I think we'll talk about Brady more when we get to Tampa Bay, but I think Brady's going to end up in Las Vegas.
Bro, from what I've seen from Brady this year,
I still think he's looked okay. I think he's got a year or two left. But
bro, I don't know with all this family stuff and everything that's happened this season. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been.
But then again, we say that every year with Brady and
Brady's always been himself.
I don't know. He's always Brady.
So
people are saying he's gonna go 8-9 and win the Super Bowl.
But that brings us to another team with quarterback problems in the New York Jets.
Magical Mike White, man. Just let him play. Throw him out there. Let him ball. Let's see how he rallies the New York crowd, man. I'm ready to see it. I'm all about that Mike White.
I don't think he's your answer long term. That
No. I saw a very good. Yeah, I saw a very interesting scenario. Shout out franchise guy. I know he's probably not watching, but I did say on his channel I saw him talk about Jordan Love for Zach Wilson, and I think he said Jordan Love in a third for Zach Wilson in a fifth.
I don't think either team would really say no to that.
That's what I'm saying. In Green Bay, you still get your young project quarterback. You still get, and you get a third on top of that. You get another pick in the third round. I
think Zach Wilson's done with the Jets. I know they keep saying they've got plans for him, but I feel like if someone even throws a halfway decent offer at the Jets, they've got to take it.
Yeah, but then so you get rid of. You on the Packers side, you still get your project quarterback, and then on the then on the Jets side, you get Jordan Love, who's been groomed under Aaron Rodgers for 3 years and got a decent field of work behind him with Matt LaFleur, and then you get to bring him in with Robert Saleh and a good defense and a semi-decent offense, and give him a good chance to succeed.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love could really turn into something. He's a first-round pick. Let's not forget that. And we haven't seen him play more than 1 or 2 games here and there. So, I think it'd be a good trade. It'd be something good for the Jets to look at for sure.
Yeah. And next up at number 22, we got the Cleveland Browns, who have been a fairly polarizing team. We know off the field what's happened with their quarterback, but Deshaun Watson is just coming off his best game of the season, and I think he's starting to find his rhythm again. You can say what you want about him off the field. Obviously, what he did wasn't a great thing, but I think the roster that's being built in Cleveland is one that could definitely contend. It's very dependent upon Deshaun Watson in my mind, but I think Cleveland goes out, gets another receiver, and then they bring some of their key pieces back and keep drafting well. I think this could be this could be a very legit team.
Here's what I think. I don't know if Jarvis would do this, but I think you bring Jarvis back to play slot in Cleveland.
If you could,
because I mean, I don't know if he'll stay with the Saints or what that situation would look like. But if he's a free agent again, if you could bring him back to play the slot for you, he was great as a slot in Cleveland. And I think the only reason he left is just because of all the drama with Odell. But now that's a year, that's in the past. It's been a year. It's in the past. He could come back probably, and Cleveland loves him. And I know he didn't. I know he loved Cleveland too when he got there. But I mean, because I don't think they needed a 1 or a 2. I think Amari plays your 1. I think DPJ is a very good number 2, a very underrated number 2.
Yeah,
DPJ could probably play number 1 on the Packers. I mean, on a team that has no other receivers like that, I think he's your 1. But in this situation, you do have Amari, so he's your 2. And DPJ has shown he can kick return. I mean, he had a kick return touchdown not too long ago.
He's a multifaceted player.
Yeah, he can do a whole lot. So it's like, keep him at your number 2, and then all you need is your slot. You get your slot, and you have a dangerous 3 right there. And you can rock and roll with them. And Njoku is looking like a star now that he's actually getting the ball.
And that defense is pretty good too.
So it's just like, they got a good Deshaun gets back on track, as long as that happens. And then as long as that happens and you bring in another guy, I think that's and you fix some depth issues, because they do have
playoff teams.
I think if you add a little bit more depth at corner, and then because I think there's a lot of speculation that they're going to trade Greedy Williams this offseason just because he hasn't played much, he's been hurt. And, he's been decent when he's on the field. He just hasn't been on the field a lot. So they're saying he'll probably get traded. But, I mean, I like you add a corner or 2 in that room, add some good depth at other positions like O-line. I think they need a little bit more depth at O-line. And, fix the little things and add that other guy. I think Cleveland could be, in the top 10 of our power rankings come next season,
Yeah, for sure. And that'll bring us to the Titans at 21, which they're fighting for their playoff lives this week at Jacksonville. We'll talk about that game, I'm sure, a little bit throughout this, but the Titans are in an interesting spot. Malik Willis hasn't looked great. Could argue that he was outplayed by Josh Dobbs. Is that his name, right? I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, he's been outplayed by him. We still got Derrick Henry. I mean, this is a team that I swear they always have so many starters missing, hurt. They have one of the better, I think, a really good coach with Mike Vrabel. But, if I'm the Titans, I'm a little bit concerned. You got one more year with Tannehill, I believe, and then you really got to figure out what you're going to do. But this is a quarterback league, and I don't think they have a very well written out future at that position. But this year they've been okay. They're on a pretty big losing streak right now, and I think they're going to lose against Jacksonville and ultimately end up missing the playoffs when they had control of the division all year long.
Just hear me out, man. Okay. With Malik Willis, I think people are really jumping the gun on saying that, he's struggling and things like that, because I mean, what do you expect, man? You held him out till what? Late in the season. You barely let him play, and then when he does play, you run the ball all the time with Derrick Henry, and then you make him have to make a bunch of plays downfield when he's a rookie, man, and that's really not fair. The offensive line is not good with the Titans this year, and I know that's the reason Malik is back there, but also you got to give him a chance. We knew he wasn't NFL ready. That's the reason he wasn't a first round pick.
Yeah.
Guys like him and Ritter, coming into the draft were seen as guys that were not NFL ready. That's why, Pickett was seen as the most NFL ready quarterback. That's why he was taken in the first round. Every single analyst, every single coach and everything said that, if you can develop Malik and if you can develop Desmond Ritter, those could be guys that are starters for you in the league and that can be good. but you have to let them develop. And Malik, number one, I think they should have just kept him out the whole year, let Dobbs ride it out. I think they should have just held him out the whole year and just let him develop, but I mean, they are letting, I'm also glad they gave him, some game time situations as well. I think that's important, but I think, hold him out for a little bit longer, let him develop. And then when he is in, put him in fair situations. Don't make him have to make big plays after, running him into a 3rd and 15, it's just give him a fair shot, to develop, bring in the right weapons around him. Cause that's another thing. No Robert Woods has played, but he hasn't really been
There's not that good receivers in Tennessee.
Treylon Burks, it hasn't been what they expected. So it's a little bit of a mess right now. Give him a fair shot before, people just come out and say he's struggling or he's a bust, or because he's not really a bust. He's a 3rd round pick, man. You got to give him time.
Yeah. And leads us to our next team, which is the Washington Commies at number 20. It's been a typical Commander season under Ron Rivera.
I hate talking about them, man. It's just not.
We'll just buzz.
There's just nothing exciting. There's nothing exciting with them, in my opinion. I mean, it's the same story every year. They're fighting for the playoffs. They scrape into the playoffs barely by a hair.
They got eliminated, but it was.
Yeah. They got eliminated, but they got eliminated apparently without Ron Rivera's, knowledge. But I think, it's just the same story with them every year. They're always decent, but they're never good enough to, actually do anything in the grand scheme of things. So,
yeah. Number 19 is your Saints. So I'll let you take this one.
Okay. The reason why a lot of people are going to probably come to me in the comments saying, why do the Panthers, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints? Well, I actually know the Panthers. I think the Panthers and the Falcons are 1 game under the Saints, right?
Yes. I think the Falcons might be 2. Panthers are 1 or even. I know that the all 3 of the Bucks.
Okay, the bottom line is no. The Bucks haven't won the division yet because if they lose this week. Oh yeah, because
they won it because they got to 8 wins.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think the Saints are in a bad situation right now because our cap is bad. Jameis and Dalton are obviously just pathetic in the grand scheme of things, and our receiving core, man, in my opinion, at this point, it's time to get Michael Thomas off the roster, trade him for what he's worth, and kind of move on from that. I think he doesn't want to be there. I think the relationship has soured with him, and he's been the best ability in the NFL is availability, and he hasn't had any of that recently. So me, as a fan, as a guy, I really appreciate what Michael Thomas has done for the franchise. I liked him here as a player and everything. I just it's time to move on.
Time to cut bait.
Yeah, as there's always time where that comes for every player, but I just think it's time to move on from that. But I also think we've been banged up a lot this year. Our defense, when healthy, has showed that we are one of the top defenses in the NFL, regardless of what anyone thinks. We are a top defense. I would say we're top 8 defense in the NFL when completely healthy. I really do. I think, when we have everyone on the field, I mean, we even showed it against the Eagles, just getting Lattimore back. We, clamped up. So we've shown we can lock up even the best teams like the Eagles and things like that when everyone's healthy. We just haven't been fully healthy. And then when we are fully healthy, I need a quarterback that can run the game and a head coach that is better than what Dennis Allen is doing. I like what Dennis Allen has done in the past 2 weeks in the wins, but I've just seen a lot of issues from him, and I think he's better as a coordinator than a head coach. I don't hate him. I don't, supremely dislike him. I'd be willing to give him 1 more year. but I don't think he's our long-term answer at head coach at all. And, I think if we get a quarterback, even like a Jimmy G or a Derek Carr in there, who can, at least just manage a game or give us a more of a winning chance than Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton do. I think if we have guys like that, and then just have a head coach that can be a game manager as well, and just keep things put together on the coaching side, and make the right decisions. I think we have a team that could easily, we have a defense and with one or two more pieces on offense, I think we could be a Super Bowl contender, a dark horse Super Bowl contender next year if we get the right things in position this offseason.
Yeah, and I think you guys are making the right moves. It's just getting that quarterback and the coach. But I'd say, especially the last couple weeks, the Saints have played better and more up to the expectations a lot of people had entering the season. Speaking of exceeding and then falling back down to earth with the expectations, Seahawks at number 18. I feel like this is a pretty quick one. They started off hot and Geno Smith was playing really well. He still played well this year, but I think the Seahawks were a little bit of fool's gold to start. And then I think now it's more of kind of what we expected. It's been some injuries for them. Obviously, they've missed Jamal Adams this year. But, this isn't about the future, but they have a really bright future with all of those Denver picks that they have over the next couple of years. So the Seahawks have been solid this year. Still not a team that I would want to play, but I think they've felt like they've fallen back towards more of what we thought they would be the last couple months.
Yeah.
And
just to clarify on the last one, the Saints are 7-9, the Panthers and Falcons are 6-10, and then the Buccaneers are 8-8. But the interesting thing it will be if the Buccaneers lose this week and the Saints win, that would put them both at 8-9. But let's see who the Saints are playing who. Sorry, just figuring this out here on the podcast, but I figured this might be important. So
everything I'm seeing says that the Bucs clinched already.
Oh yeah, so they play Carolina, and I think did they lose to Tampa Bay? Yeah, they lost to Tampa Bay twice. That's why.
Yeah,
because Tampa Bay has more division wins. So yeah, Buccaneers clinched because of that.
Yeah, and a team.
And we got eliminated. Yeah, man, sad.
And speaking of the playoffs and these two teams, I feel like are kind of interchangeable, 16-17 with the Packers and the Lions. So
yeah, the only reason I give it to the the only reason I put the Packers below the Lions is because the Lions beat the Packers, and so we'll have to see what their next matchup looks like,
which is Sunday night, and that's whoever wins is if Seattle beats the Rams, then the Lions are out anyways. But if the Rams beat Seattle, then that game is whoever wins is in, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's the Lions just this year because, man, they have played past expectations.
Way past.
For this season. And Dan Campbell has done a lot more with that roster than half of the coaches in the NFL would have been able to do, in my opinion. So Dan Campbell has shown us that they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and
they're definitely moving in the right direction, and they have things kind of being put together. But also, man, I don't know. We'll see, because Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have looked a lot better coming into this game too. So it'll be a fun game to watch. It'll be a big game to watch.
Yeah. And then next up on your list is number 15, which is the Giants. And this is one where I feel like they could be a little bit higher. They did clinch for a playoff spot, but I feel like 15 can be justified because I feel like they've had a lot of ups and downs this year. It's been a strange season.
I think that the Giants are the only reason I put them at 15 is because there's been so many times where it's like, oh my God, the Giants look really good, like beginning of the season. Then you have a 4-game, 5-game losing streak, and then they come back and win 2, and then they lose another one. And it's just like, it kind of just seems like Daniel Jones has days where he wakes up and eats his Wheaties, and then when he doesn't wake up and eat his Wheaties, those are the days he sucks. But then there's games where he comes in and looks like a miracle. So it's I don't know. It's really contingent upon how Daniel Jones plays.
I think he's earned himself a 1 or 2 year.
I think a 2-year extension would be interesting. Yeah, I think a 2-year extension, but I don't think you can justify giving him more than 2.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a pretty solid season for him. Especially, he's played better than I thought he would, and obviously props to Brian Daboll, who, in my opinion, should walk away with Coach of the Year. I don't even think it should be close on that one.
He turned that roster into a playoff team, which is
yeah. Great. And I think they have a tie. I think they're 10. I think they're 10, 5-1 or 9, 6-1. And I think most Giants fans would have been pretty happy if the record were backwards. If they had 6 or 7 wins by the end of the season, I feel like a lot of Giants fans would have been fairly pleased with that. But he's hit a grand slam out of the park, and I don't think you can say enough about the job that he's done with transforming what is a pretty below average to average roster into a playoff team. And
especially with all the Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay drama going on.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to that Kenny Golladay thing is one of a kind, man. Never seen anything like that before.
Kenny Golladay is so, yeah.
Man got his bag, though. Man got his bag.
He did get his bag, but it's just, I don't know. It's literally it's just like that lineman. I always space his name, but the lineman that got that huge contract from the Redskins, and then.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Albert Haynesworth. My fault. Yeah, that took me a second to get the name, but yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
it's almost identical to that situation.
And then 14, we got the Buccaneers, team we were just talking about, and they've been interesting. They really seemed like they opened up the playbook against Carolina. Mike Evans and Tom Brady found their chemistry again. I think that's a big thing for them going into the playoffs, but it's been weird. They have had absolutely zero run game. I think they've averaged less than 4, maybe right around 2.5 or 3 yards a carry for the season. And I think by the time the playoffs come, that's going to be a big thing that holds them back, because when you can't run the ball, and a lot of the teams, like we said multiple times, when you get to the playoffs, everyone is a good team, and then all the teams you're playing are just as good or better than you, and defenses are going to be able to pin their ears back, expect the pass, and then I think the Bucs could be in some trouble in the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's also the GOAT effect.
GOAT's gonna GOAT.
The GOAT is gonna be the GOAT.
Yeah, interesting season for the Bucs, and a team that has really come out of nowhere. That's what we saw last week too, is the GOAT goated. Like
and he's done it a couple times this season where he kind of lets them fall behind, and then in the fourth quarter he just walks out there and
just like that
snaps his fingers, and it's
it's over. Like
they win. It always happens. It's crazy.
Team that next up at 13 with the Steelers. This has been another pretty cool story this year.
Yeah.
Typical Steelers.
Is Mike Tomlin ever going to have a losing season?
It's on the line this week. I mean, we'll see.
It is, bro, but it's just it's
just
crazy.
Wins.
It's crazy, bro. He's never had a losing season, and he might scrape by and get another winning season.
It's crazy, man. I mean, I don't think they have a playoff chance. I don't think they're gonna make it, but I feel like they've been without TJ Watt most of the year, and they're still like that's the reigning defensive player of the year, and you still are a 500 team, and you've seen lots of the
with the rookie quarterback.
Issue. Yeah, and I think Kenny Pickett started to look pretty solid the past couple weeks. Still not anything great, but
he looks Davis Mills last year. That's how he looks. But the difference between those two is Davis Mills was what, like a 4th or 5th rounder, and Kenny Pickett is a 1st rounder. So it's, I don't know. It just shows you the difference between classes for sure. But it's also like,
I think he's got a future in Pittsburgh for sure. I just think
the biggest future, I don't know. I think maybe he has a Baker Mayfield like future. And
I think the biggest thing for them has been Najee's recent success over the past month and a half. I think that's been a big reason as to why they've gotten back.
Because Najee was not
he was nothing at the start. I had him on fantasy all year, and I was regretting it until he finally started to pull through towards the end. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. They got they play the Ravens this week, I think, and that's a big time. Game. That's a big time. There's a lot of big time games this week. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
And speaking of teams playing in big time games, number 12. This is my issue with this list. This is the one I'm gonna go to bat. I'm gonna say it. The Jags at 12 is crazy. You cannot do that. There's no way.
The Jags
4-game winning streak. We're about to win the division. We're gonna win that home playoff game. I don't know, man. The Jags at 12, I feel like they've got to be at least top 10. That's all that I'm saying.
But you got to look at the whole body of work.
Go look at the beginning of the season. They beat the Chargers by 28. That's a team that made the play.
Whole body of, but they've also, they're the same in the same position as the Steelers, except they're just in a worse division, or way worse division.
I think
they're not the Steelers. You guys 9-8, and you want me to call you top 10?
I would not want to play the Jags.
And that's if you guys win this last game. You're 9-8. You're 8-8 right now.
Here's my thing.
If you're 8-9 or you're top 10, I don't know.
But here's my thing. Quality of wins. You beat the Jets when they were on kind of their downhill slide, sure. But you beat Dallas, that's a playoff team. We've beaten Tennessee, who could be a playoff team depending on this week. Beat Baltimore, that's a playoff team. And then all the one possession games that they've had. I just feel like with Jacksonville right now, I feel like, you had a really bad middle stretch of the season where you lost at Philly, you lost to Houston, you lost at Indy. That was when Indy was still a potential decent team. You lose by 6 to the Giants. You lose to Denver and London. That's a bad loss. But I feel like down the stretch, they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. And me personally, I would not want to play the Jags, even if I'm the Bengals, the Chiefs. I feel like the Jags are maybe the hottest team in the league right now.
Okay, but to put them in the top 10, right? Hear me out, okay? To put them in the top 10, the next two teams on the list are the Patriots and Dolphins, okay? The Patriots, I'm not going to put them above the Patriots because the Patriots, if they make the playoffs, are more dangerous than the Jaguars if they make the playoffs. And I say that because of Bill Belichick and just because of the experience that the Patriots have in the playoffs, the amount of wins you cannot deny, they have the upper hand when it comes to playoff football. The Dolphins,
if you just got to be hot going into the playoffs. That's my
no. I realize that, but also the Patriots know what they're doing come time for playoff football. They know how to win.
Our coach is one of he beat Bill Belichick.
He did. I understand that. I understand it. But what I'm saying is that Jaguars team as a team does not have the playoff experience. Does not have, top 10 team experience going into the playoffs. And the Dolphins, me and you could argue on the Dolphins because I hear where you're coming from with them, but I can't give you the Patriots. I might be able to move them up to 11.
Man.
But I put the Patriots at 10. I know this says Dolphins at 10, but I put Patriots at 10, Dolphins at 11.
Man, I don't know.
And I'll argue with I'd be willing to put the Jaguars at 11. I guess over the Dolphins, but I can't give them top 10, man. I don't know.
I've just been so thoroughly unimpressed by the Patriots. I don't know what it is. It's just well, hold on. I just want to see are the Patriots and the Dolphins both are 8-8, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. And I guess part of it you could say could be Jaguar bias, sure. But I feel like the Jags are, I'm not going to say they're the most dangerous team because they're not the Bills, the Eagles, whatever. Like, they're not the best team in the league. But I feel like if you had a pick as a team like the Bengals or whatever, the Jaguars are the last team I would want to play on that list. And that's kind of like how I was thinking about it. It's just like, if I were the number one seed, who would I not want to play? And I feel like out of those three teams, which I feel like a lot of people, they're kind of interchangeable, but I just feel like the Jags are the team I would least want to play on that. I don't know.
I don't know. I would be more scared of playing a Belichick playoff defense.
But that offense doesn't really do anything either.
But that's the thing. Belichick has never had to have these insane offenses because his defense just ends up playing to that standard, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
but
sure
obviously over the 6 Super Bowl years and everything, like they had good offenses with Moss and Brady and all that. But I'm just saying, like, they didn't really have to. They didn't have to score a lot of points. They just had to have a defense that just clamped shit down. Same thing that they're doing with the Bucks. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, we could go back and forth on those three all day.
We could, but that's, I mean, here's what I'll do. I'll move the Jags to 11. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll move the Jags to 11. I'll move the Dolphins back to 12, and I'm gonna keep the Patriots at 10.
Okay.
So that's 10. That's 12, 11, and 10 right there.
Yeah, I figured that would probably be the part where we would have the most discrepancy amongst ourselves. But you got the
all right, moving into the top 10 here. Yeah, we have the Ravens at 9.
I think is Lamar gonna be back for the playoffs? I mean, does anyone really know? Or
I don't think anyone really. I don't know. But if he is, then we know what that team is. Without Lamar, we also know what that team is, and it is not good.
I saw a stat today that it was like the Ravens offense averages, I think, 27.5 points with Lamar, and then they average like 12 or 13 with Tyler Huntley. And I heard a stat too going into their game against the Steelers last week with Tyler Huntley. They scored 3 touchdowns. How, like, over 4 or 5 weeks. And I don't get how Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowl alternate. Like, I have no. It's just a popularity contest pretty much, but that blew my mind. Like,
I mean, the Pro Bowl is 2-hand touch this year.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme.
The Pro Bowl,
it just surprised me.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Pro Bowl is kind of a joke. It's just a good accolade to have, but all that kind of stuff really means nothing.
I mean, those players still get selected, and Tyler Huntley. I mean, as an alternate, I could see it. If he was actually in the Pro Bowl, I would be like, oh my God, what is happening? But yeah, as an alternate, I guess. But
I feel like there's so many quarterbacks that are better than him.
Mike White.
I would take Mike White over him. I mean,
I would take Mike White over Tyler Huntley. Are you kidding me?
I was thinking more of this guy.
Well, yeah.
But I mean,
I could see him too.
Like Herbert. I mean, that's number 8 is the Chargers. Like, I mean, the Chargers they're getting healthy and they're finding their stride right now.
No, I just want to touch on the Ravens real quick. By the way, we are not saying we're talking about the whole body of work and right now. So it's like the whole body of work early in the season. Obviously, the Ravens were good with Lamar. Once Lamar went down, they are bad now. So we have to take that into consideration. That's why I don't have the Ravens higher. I think if they had Lamar in, they'd probably have a better record, which would also take them higher in our ranking.
Yeah, but this I feel like this Chargers team at 8, this would be my dark horse to win the Super Bowl. If I had to make a pick right now, I feel like they would be my dark horse team to make it. I really I don't know, man.
My dark horse is the Cowboys. And I know that's surprising, but that's my dark horse right now.
Yeah, with the Chargers, though, I mean, Justin Herbert.
With the Chargers, man.
He's legit. And
Justin Herbert, we've known he's legit, I think. But I think what really is happening right now compared to at the beginning of the season, because I know they kind of got off to a slower start than everyone expected.
Just injuries.
But it's injuries, but then it's also, I think Keenan Allen is back to playing what we expect Keenan Allen to play like. He's been playing really well.
The establishing of the run game too. That's been
and it feels like Brandon Staley's kind of getting his mojo as a head coach now. Yeah,
I think that's good to see because coming into the year he was on the hot seat, but they're gonna make the playoffs, and I think everyone's a tough out in the playoffs, but I think the Chargers are definitely a team
if healthy
to watch. Yeah,
if healthy,
if they can stay healthy through this Week 18 game, that really doesn't mean a lot. They're a team it's either going to be them or the Ravens that will play the winner of Jacksonville and Tennessee. So, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens with these Week 18 games before I say anything.
Yeah.
And then next, surprise here, but I think, I know for the first couple of games, by the way, you go back and the team is the Vikings at 7, by the way. But also I think if we look, early on in the season, most of the Vikings wins were all one possession wins. One possession or less. Some it was like a touchdown or less that they won by. And then so it's a touchdown or less that they win by with most of their wins. And then also a lot of their wins were just very unimpressive. And then they've been losing by a lot recently. All of their losses have been absolute thrashings. They've gotten absolutely walked all over by teams that, they probably should have beaten. So I don't think the Vikings should be higher than 7 at this point. I think 7 is a perfect place to put them just because they are still 12-4. They still have to be respected as a good team.
Yeah.
Still are valid. Still have a very good roster with Jay Jettas and Dalvin Cook and Hawkinson and all them. Just need to figure out the defensive side of the ball more and keep winning consistent.
That's just for me.
You can't just be getting thrashed out of nowhere.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see. You touched on all the 1 point, like the one possession victories, and I just don't know if that translates to the playoffs very well. I mean, you're going to be in close games, but that's what I'm interested to see with them is does that kind of style that they've had all year really translate into the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be what's to watch with them. They're an interesting team going into the playoffs, though.
Yeah. Next up at 6, we have the Cowboys. The Cowboys, their defense has been great. Like great. Like their defense has been absolutely insane. Michael Gallup's starting to come back and find his rrhythm. CD is
T.Y. Don't sleep on
CD is in the full flow of things. I really like what rookie Peyton Hendershot, the tight end,
IU guy,
did while Schultz was out. I think he did really well. Very athletic guy too. So I think they have some nice young pieces on offense as well. The offensive line has cleaned some things up. They have a nice 1-2 punch with Tony Pollard and Zeke. So they have the run game. They have the defense. The big question really for me is just Dak, man. I it seems like Dak has done enough to win games, which is nice.
It's just
but he doesn't ever win them comfortably. And I don't know. The Cowboys have won games. Oh, sorry, I got a little bit close to the mic there. The Cowboys haven't won, games comfortably necessarily, always, but I'm sorry. The Cowboys have won games comfortably. Sorry, my brain is churning. the game. So they have won some games comfortably, but I'm saying a lot of the time when they are in these close games, it's because Dak puts them there. And, he might throw some touchdowns, but he seems to always either match or get close to matching his touchdowns with his picks. And I don't know. That's not a winning formula going into the playoffs, but if he cleans those things up, I mean, those were the same kind of concerns with Matthew Stafford last year. And so I think if Dak can clean it up, this is a team that could, shoot into a possible Super Bowl spot.
They just got to keep leaning on that run game.
Run game.
Too quick to go away from it at times.
Yeah, so I think lean on the run game, and then you have an all-pro defense for sure. That defense is insane. So you keep that defense. You have a nice, if you're able to establish that nice run game, and then just have Dak clean up the turnovers when it comes time to pass. Because, like I said, Gallup has kind of found his stroke again. CD has been, has been in his
he's played
flow for a
really
while.
High level.
Yeah, and then you have Schultz and Hendershot as a guy who's stepped up too. So I don't know. It's good to see. I don't like Cowboys fans, but I don't have anything against the Cowboys. I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them. At this point, since my Saints aren't in it, I'm just kind of watching from a spectator's view, and as a football fan, I'm just kind of watching as a fan of the league, not necessarily rooting for any individual team. But since my Saints aren't in it, it'll just be fun to watch what else happens.
Yeah, and a team that is next up at number 5. This is actually as of right now, this is my Super Bowl pick, San Francisco 49ers, and that's going to be a surprise, I feel like, to a lot of people, but they got the best defense in the league. They've got, in my opinion, the most dynamic weapon in football, Christian McCaffrey. They've got the pieces. They got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. I think Jawan Jennings is his name. I know his last name is Jennings. He's been solid for them. They got a good O-line. I think they got one of the best coaches in the league. Yeah. And I don't see, Brock Purdy's obviously the biggest question mark, but I feel like he's more than answered the call. He's undefeated as a starter. He's played well. He's won in close games.
It kind of came close there for a second with Stidham.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing for him to get one of those close games for the playoffs, because I think no matter who you play, it's most likely going to be close. And I think they have the most important things for the playoffs, which is an elite defense, and then they have a good run game. And
my question is, man, does this put Trey Lance in the let's put this hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, if Brock Purdy goes and wins this thing with this team, he wins the Super Bowl, does that put Trey Lance in the quarterback sweepstakes of this offseason?
I don't know if they would necessarily trade him yet, but I feel like,
and this is a question I want to put up on the screen and everything, bro, because it's just that's the biggest question for me with the Niners, man, is there can be so much stuff that can happen with them this offseason, because
I don't feel like
you got to handle the Jimmy G situation. You got to handle the Trey Lance situation. Yeah, I think, I think Jimmy G's gone, but it's also Trey Lance. What do you do with if Brock Purdy is a Super Bowl champion winning quarterback? He led you there. And then
the next year, there's just no questions.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't do that to a locker room where, especially you haven't seen a lot from Trey Lance. I don't think you would move him, but I also feel like if Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl this year, you can't go away from that.
And I haven't necessarily seen anything that tells me, based off of what I saw with Trey Lance in college and everything, I'm rooting for him. I'm a fan of Trey Lance. I want to see him win, but it's more of, to me, it's just it's really weird because I haven't seen anything in the league with him yet to where it's that's their guy. I haven't looked out there and been that's the Niners guy. maybe he's the guy somewhere else. Not saying that he's a bust, not saying anything like that. Just saying maybe he's the guy somewhere else. That's not with the Niners, but I just haven't seen anything to where it's like he looks like he can be their guy.
I legitimately
and then also you have the injury issues too. So
yeah, and I think Brock Purdy is literally. I think he's almost kind of a copy and paste of Jimmy Garoppolo. He doesn't turn it over, makes the right decisions, and I mean we'll have to see. We know Jimmy G missed the infamous throw in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs that would have won it for him, but I mean I don't know if I'm just riding too hard on this Brock Purdy wave, but I mean that San Francisco team has got me feeling some type of way.
Mr. Irrelevant, man, is not so irrelevant.
Freaking Super Bowl champion in his I think
that would be the first Mr. Irrelevant ever.
I mean they don't even really stick around nonetheless, lead a team to a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
But
nonetheless, Brock Purdy's definitely earned himself some respect.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Moving into our top 4, got the Bills at number 4, and obviously just want to say first off, prayers up to Damar Hamlin, his whole family, the organization. Like it seems like
huge prayers, man. No, especially as someone who I've gone out there and did my things on a much smaller scale, of course, at the high school level and the middle school level and stuff. As someone who's put the pads on and been in the trenches myself, no one. At the end of the day, you play the game to have fun. You play the game because you love it. You play the game because that's what you want to do, and you play it to be with your brothers and go to war with your brothers, and that's just what every football player wants to do. So no one deserves to almost lose their life or obviously injuries are a very, very sore subject of the game. No one wants to see anyone get injured at the end of the day, no matter how hard we're playing, no matter how hard we're competing. No player wants to see another player get hurt at the end of the day, and especially not near death situation. So big prayers for Damar Hamlin.
That's just crazy. I mean,
bad, man.
Obviously, we're hoping. It seems like he's making some progress. He's down to only 50% oxygen from what I've heard as the latest. But prayers up to him and all the Bills organization, the NFL as a whole.
Cardiac arrest, man. That's not even fair.
Yeah, it is just crazy. But the Bills, like they're one of the top teams in the league, and I feel like we'll see what happens with their game with the Bengals. But I mean, I feel like no matter what, the Bills are still going to be a championship contender. And I feel like I don't want this to come off the wrong way, so please don't take it this way. But I feel like they've got that kind of extra motivation. It's a team that I would definitely be rooting for a lot of reasons. They're a likable team, and obviously we hope.
I think that team has been likable for a while, but it's also, we saw it with when, for example, just using examples, when Sean Taylor died with the Redskins way back when, you saw kind of the team want to play on a different level, and kind of they brought that extra energy, because when you lose, or almost in this case almost lose a guy on your team, it makes you want to play that much harder for him. Makes just makes you want to be that much better, makes you want to
win it for them.
Cherish the game that much more, makes you all that. So yeah, man, big prayers for him. But the Bills at 4, definitely I think a valid seeding for them. And especially with the 3 teams ahead of them, I think that's a good spot for them.
Yeah, so we got the Chiefs at number 3, and I think they are still the team to beat in the AFC. Just my personal opinion, I still feel like they've got the best player in the game. They got one of the best coaches, and
it seems like no matter who is playing wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes, they are going to be successful.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't really. It's the same sort of thing it's been since Mahomes has been there. They're just the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and
yeah,
that's. I mean, yeah,
they're going to look good in the playoffs. They're going to be hard to beat. They're always going to be, as long as they have Mahomes, we've seen. Yeah, as long as they have Mahomes and Kelce, we've seen that they will be
successful no matter what.
Yeah, they will find success somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, and at number 2, team that has seemed to be their kryptonite so far, the Cincinnati Bengals. So,
yeah. Man, Joe Shiesty, he's going to come and do Shiesty things. Ja'Marr Chase has turned back into Ja'Marr Chase. He scared me for a little bit, kind of came out, on and off in those first couple of weeks, but now he's all the way on and searing hot. And then you have guys like Tyler Boyd there too, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst.
Up to T. Higgins there too, by the way, because I've seen some people saying some that's a fairly routine kind of tackle and hit, but it's just, I hope he's doing okay too. I can't imagine what that would be like, but yeah,
nah, man,
to get that out there too.
Yeah. I don't think. I actually saw, I forget who it was. It's a player though. I saw another player tweet out. I don't know how people are saying all this sick stuff.
Yeah.
To T. Higgins and stuff. You can't blame anyone for that. It's a complete freak accident.
That was kind of weird. We just said that at the same time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It prayers up to him and everything. But Cincinnati, their defenses look good.
And they're one of the best.
Their defenses look good. Their offenses look good. And they're also kind of showing, as long as they have Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow, they're going to be all right. So, yeah.
Even without Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Burrow, he still played at a high level, but moves us to number 1, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, and we know they've lost their last 2, but being without an MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts, they still almost beat the Cowboys. The Saints game was kind of a different story, but I feel like we both still agree, Philly is the team to beat, so to say, in the NFL.
I think Gardner Minshew is kind of what Matt Hasselbeck was when he was kind of in his latter years of his career, where he became a very, very respected backup, but everyone knew he shouldn't be a starter.
Yeah.
And I think
he's always right on the verge.
A lot of people, I hear a lot of people say, give Minshew a chance, but it's just been shown that when he does start games, he's either all the way on or he's all the way off. There is no in between.
Not very much.
He's very up and down.
I saw it in Jacksonville firsthand. I know that was several years ago, but he has some games where, you're like, all right, that could be a potential guy. And then you have other games where it's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. It's just up and down. And
it's a roller coaster.
It's like I said, he's a respected backup, but I think everyone knows he's not a starter in the league at this point.
Yeah, and he had a chance to show it too. And
I think all questions about that are gone. I think it's just he's a very, very solid backup though. Yeah. In the league. Yeah, I think he's one of the best backups in the league, hands down. He's up there with Cooper Rush and guys that come in and just get it done.
Yeah.
But he's a respected backup. He's a very good backup, but he should not be any more than that.
Yeah. And that'll pretty much
that caps it out, man, with the Eagles. We're excited to see what the final week of the NFL looks like. We also wanted to shout out you guys and shout out everyone that watched our last video, most popular video on the channel.
1,300 views. That's crazy.
Yeah. We appreciate all the support. Please do keep showing support. As we talked about at the very beginning of this video, we have a big time interview coming. We're really excited to get that out to you guys. It's in the works right now. We've kind of been, we've been trying to get, we finally got it done, but we had been trying to get it together for about 2 months.
It's been a while, but
putting it all together and getting everything right. And so we're finally in the final stages of that. So please keep supporting on social media, keep supporting on YouTube, of course. We're trying to get our names and faces out there, and get the, kind of grow our child here being the channel and everything. and the podcast.
Hey, trying to start the new year off right, which we've done so far, and
yes, sir.
We've only got bigger and better things coming. NFL playoffs are around the corner.
And exciting times ahead, man. I'm excited to get into this playoff stuff with you guys and with my partner here, and
we hope you guys are as excited as we are.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. So this has been Journeyman Sports Podcast episode number 27, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out our social medias and everything. Everything will be in the description. So thank you, and we are out.